Good morning, early game crew. If you're like me, an 80-plus thousand that were in attendance for South Carolina State on Saturday, might be catching up on a little bit of sleep because it was a late one over at Williams-Brice Stadium. I'm Elijah Campbell. He's Preston Thorne. She's Jen Jensen. The South Carolina Gamecocks are 2-0 after a 38-10 win over South Carolina State. Better late than never, but never late is better. I think we could say that for the start of the game and for the start of South Carolina's offense's decision to join the game, which was apparently after halftime, because there was no real moving of the football until we really got to the second half.
Kickoff was 9:21.
Unfortunately.
9:21, so that was about, what, almost 2.5 hours after.
9 minutes shy of it being
9 minutes
2.5
shy
hours,
of
yes.
Yeah, so there was a significant delay if you were not involved with that. And again, another of the wonderful, wacky weather in Columbia, because as I was texting my friends here that were at the game, I live in Northeast Columbia. It rained for about 15 minutes.
And that was it? You got no thunder, no lightning?
Nothing.
No monsoon, no 40-mile-an-hour winds.
It rained hard, but it was really it seriously was about 10 minutes. And then the whole time I'm watching TV, seeing Twitter updates, talking to you all, and y'all are like, look at what's happening here. And I was like, that is wild.
The sky opened up for like a good hour and a half, right? I mean, it got nasty.
That's amazing.
And you could see it was ominous, and we were kind of laughing like, oh, a sandstorm is coming, and it just looked like something was brewing, but you thought, oh, surely not. And then we'd look over to downtown Columbia, and there was this haze, like, okay, but it didn't seem to be coming. And then all of a sudden, boy, the heavens erupted, and oh my goodness.
Yeah, and I think I remember sitting at Jay's Corner Bar where Tyler and I did the pregame. And we get done with the show, and we're watching one of the TVs there, and we realize Troy and Clemson are in a weather delay. Mm-hmm. And Tyler goes, oh, I hope that's not coming here. And I was like, it shouldn't. And they're showing the radar on ACC Network, and I'm like, well, based off this radar right here, it looks like, it should miss us. And then we look at our phones, and we're like, yeah, it's a only small chance of rain. Sure enough.
So you're saying there's a chance?
There was a chance, and that chance ended up happening. Sometimes in a game of odds, the thing that is not very likely to happen still happens, and that's exactly what happened on Saturday in Columbia. In terms of what happened on the field, I mean, in terms of, I guess, a general takeaway, there are a lot of things you can take away, even in an FCS game, but there are a lot of things that can be true at once. The offensive line the offensive line and the offense was an absolute atrocity in the first half. Not going to be acceptable in any football game you play in moving forward. You play a first half like that against Vanderbilt Saturday, I'm not saying I think you get beat. You play like that in the first half against Vanderbilt on Saturday, you will be beat with certainty, right? But that's not saying that there is no way that this can't be fixed. We are not firing anybody. We are not right now putting anybody on the hot seat, because at the end of the day, you still won a football game. You played a bad football game on offense and still managed to win the football game. Now, if you end up losing some games you're supposed to win because the offense isn't very good, we'll start having some different conversations later on in the season. But there's still time to fix it. It's only the second week of the year. And if you're going to play a bad game on one side of the football, I'd rather you get it out against South Carolina State where you can get away with it, because that's what they did. The offense got away with it on Saturday. If you at least improve throughout the season and get that bad game out of the way, we'll be talking about the season a little differently. Because we can go back into the last 2 years, Preston, and look at some instances where the offense didn't look very good in the first half against an FCS team or a lower opponent team, and things be okay. Old Dominion last year, we were having very similar conversations, and guess what? Things were okay. I can name you plenty of examples where a team only beats a team they're supposed to beat by 40, and they beat them by only 25 or 28, and things were okay.
Right.
So there's no need to put a panic alarm, but you can objectively look at the offense in the first half of the game and say, whoa.
Yeah, if you're watching this game, for me, it's always 3 games. 3 games before when I decide what I think the team is for a year. So I always take three 3 games. Because you get a couple of different data sets. We're going to have a couple different data sets. We'll have a mid-level ACC team. We'll have what I think is going to be a good FBS team. So we'll see what that looks like. And then coming in, we'll have another mid-level SEC team. After that game, that's when I'll start to make final proclamations and see what I really think the team is. So this is giving me another data point. And to your point about not making a determination about the team, but there are some red flags.
Yes.
There are some things that need attention paid to. There are some questions that should be asked. And if
some fair observations.
There's some fair observations. If you are out there making some fair observations or bringing up some points or just in the meeting, put your finger up like, hey, I have a point here, or anybody want to consider this, you're not wrong. And so I don't like the idea of, like, if somebody has a fair objection after looking at what they saw and they have questions specifically about the offense, specifically about the offensive line, maybe about the play calling, maybe about the lack of playmakers that we've seen at the wide receiver position to this point yet, maybe about the running game. You have several questions to ask, and I think you're totally justified. But for me, I like to give it one more game before I can really sink into those observations.
One thing that is very fair to also point out is you might have the most dynamic, I think, because the numbers do not lie. You have the most dynamic punt returner in the country right now.
Correct.
Vakari Swain made magic happen on Saturday, going back-to-back with 2 punt returns in that second quarter to take him to the house and give you the separation that ultimately you needed to feel a little more comfortable throughout the game. Your special teams unit's pretty good, and I'd like to say, we told you to watch for it. South Carolina State's special teams unit, susceptible to giving up long chunks of yardage.
Yeah, they're
and
going
I
to
think
get that together.
we got that validated on Saturday because Vakari Swain, the man did it again.
And that's going to be something that other teams have to now start paying attention to. Now they have to start preparing for it. Now they have to start putting in special game plans for the punt instead of just, hey, punt it, cover it. Now it's like, okay, can we punt it away from him? Can we corner kick it? Are we going to rugby style this? Do we not even want to kick to this guy?
We might get to that point before October.
Right? That changes things offensively. So now you have something that everybody else is paying attention to. They're trying to figure out how do you combat this weapon, and it takes their focus away. So he's already established that. Vanderbilt, as they should be, is priority 1 would be Lenore Sellers, and then priority 2 is stop Vakari Swain.
Yep. Don't let that guy break the game open.
That's what it is. So that's what their coaches are doing right now when they start preparing for this team. So you have established another weapon.
All right, we'll go to the AAA Heating and Air phone lines because we're taking your calls today, 803-404-6100. Joe is on the line. Joe, good morning and welcome back to the early game, brother.
Hey, guys, good morning, man. Good morning. So, Preston, I'm with you, Preston. I'm going to wait. I saw some good things, and I also saw some things that we need to improve on. A lot of people forget. I've seen it on social media this past weekend. It's like everybody's just ready to throw away Shula. They're ready to get rid of the O-line, but they gotta remember last year we started out kind of slow, and so I think these guys will improve. Shane is a great developer. They're great coaches, and they'll figure out what we need to do to get better. I look forward to us whipping up on Vanderbilt. We'll figure things out by the end of the second quarter, and I think we'll win by a touchdown or 2. But we definitely have to improve on the O-line, and I think we will. The defense hasn't given up a touchdown. That's impressive to me. That says a lot. And so I'm not sure about what's going to happen with the guys who are injured. I don't know how severe it is. Shane always keeps those kind of things close to the vest. But I'm like you, Preston. I'm going to give it another game and before I decide, how I really feel about this team. But good game overall. I'm very impressed with the special teams. Mr. Swain is the man. And we do have one of the best punters in college right now. Check out his average, man. So great game, though, all around, especially with the 2-hour delay. So
yeah,
love listening to you guys talk and look forward to the guys to get better this week. Go Gamecocks.
Absolutely. Appreciate the call, Joe. And I think he's on to something with the first game part last year. I mean, some people were ready to run Dow Loggins out of town after the Old Dominion game. And if you would have told a lot of people at Williams-Brice Stadium in late August of 2024 that team that you just saw struggled to score against one of the worst teams in the Sun Belt would win 9 games in an SEC slate that year, they would have told you you're crazy.
Right.
That you would have gone to Clemson and beaten them, they would have told you you're crazy. That Lenore Sellers would be an off-season into 2025 popular Heisman pick, they would have told you you were crazy. There's definitely room for improvement. And it's one of those things, too, where, look, 2 games doesn't make the entire season, but there are some very fair points with pointing out that the offense right now is not good enough to win you games. It was good enough to win Virginia Tech. It was good enough to win you a game against South Carolina State. But at some point, the schedule is going to get harder. You will not get away with it later on in the season if that's how you play.
But here's the fundamental issue with that whole premise, because I agree with it. But the problem is that's not where we were supposed to be coming into the year. The offense was supposed to be the one that was carrying the defense.
Yes.
And that was this quote-unquote narrative that we built the season upon, is that the offense is going to be further along. Obviously, Superman's there, but we have all of these wide receivers. The offensive line hasn't improved, and we haven't seen that. And so I think that, for me, that is the overriding issue. Last year, we knew the offense was going to struggle. They were going to come along. There was something that they needed to develop over time, and that wasn't the story or the narrative that we created this year going into the season. So I think that's why speaking for myself, that's why there's maybe a little bit more angst towards that, because that's not what it was supposed to be.
Yeah, it was definitely supposed to be better going into the season. We'll go to Marv on the AAA Heating and Air phone lines. Marv, thanks for hanging out with us on the early game, and what are your thoughts on what transpired on Saturday?
Hey, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. How are you this morning?
Doing well.
Fantastic.
First, I want to preface this by saying that I know it's only game 2, but my opinion on offensive linemen, my 53 years of watching football, they have to be better and meaner than the defensive linemen. And our offensive linemen just don't seem to have a dog in them at times. And my second point is Howell and Fuller seem like the better running backs. They hit holes quicker and faster. And sometimes I don't think experience outweighs playmakers and dogs. And I'll just hang up and listen.
Yeah, Marv, the last part I think I would love to get to. In a game like Saturday, you kind of take with a grain of salt because they are playing against, even the backups for South Carolina State. However, what you saw with your eyes with Jawarn Howell, I completely agree, because we saw Jawarn Howell play well against Illinois until he fumbled. And then he fumbled the ball. He did not see the field the rest of the game. But I think we know Jawarn Howell can play a little bit. The offense was incredibly anemic in the first half with how they ran the ball. It probably wouldn't hurt to see more Jawarn Howell in the mix, in my opinion, going into maybe your SEC games.
Yeah, somebody has to take that spot. I've been on record saying I like to have RB1. I don't love the idea of by committee, especially when it doesn't seem as if anybody is taking a step forward. Because right now, if they was to say 3rd down for your life, 3rd and 3, I don't have an answer. I'm throwing the ball, right? Or I'm figuring out some other way.
I'm flipping a coin. I'm picking 2 guys and flipping a coin.
That's not a good spot. That's not a great spot to feel like we're in as an offense when we don't have the go-to guy, at least from my opinion right now.
Yeah, that's certainly something to figure out. 803-404-6100. We'll be taking your thoughts on the Firehouse Subs text line and the AAA Heating and Air phone lines. But coming up, we told you this year we were going to judge this team based off how they judge themselves. We're going to take a look at that criteria, apply it to the game from Saturday against South Carolina State, and we'll see if that changes how we look at the game against South Carolina State. Reaction Monday continues.
Hey, it's Jen. And are you looking for some flooring? Well, make sure you discover the unparalleled quality and selection at Mill Street Flooring. Now, they're your go-to destination for the finest luxury vinyl plank flooring in the Midlands. They're the exclusive distributor of Case Luxury Flooring. They're offering wear levels from 12 to 28 mils, so a lot of durability and style there. And whether you're a contractor or a builder, maybe an installer, you're going to appreciate our factory direct prices and manufacturer's warranty. And the great part is, when you want that flooring, it's there. They have it in stock. Samples available in that luxury vinyl plank in a wide array of patterns and colors, and you can find the perfect flooring instantly. Choose from the standard or the wider planks to fit any space and any budget. No order too big nor too small. Visit millstreetflooring.com or call Joe at 803-424-8547 to arrange an appointment at the Lugoff or their West Columbia locations. At Mill Street Flooring, there's never a good reason to spend more than you have to. Do have a report of a disabled vehicle where the shoulder is blocked on I-20 eastbound there at Longs Pond Road. So just be mindful of that. And weather-wise, going to be kind of breezy today. We're looking for a high of only 81, a little bit different than last week. Still a little bit of wind tomorrow, 80 for the high, then 82 on Wednesday. We'll get into about 86 on Thursday. Sunshine really most of this week, so we will welcome that. But it is kind of breezy this morning, 66 on 107.5 The Game.
It's time to take a look at how this team was going to judge themselves in games this year and apply it to South Carolina State. Now, for reference, last week against Virginia Tech, they checked all boxes. So when you look at the game through that scope, the team went into Atlanta and did what they were supposed to do. Well, now let's apply that to Saturday's game against South Carolina State. And as a reminder, those things are run the ball and stop the run, win the turnover battle, win the explosive play battle, play smart football, dominate the fourth quarter. So let's take it from the top here.
Okay.
Run the ball and stop the run. We'll take the sack adjusted averages here. So for not accounting for sack yards, South Carolina averaged more yards per carry than South Carolina State, 3.8 to 3.2. Now, you'd probably like to run for a little more than 3.8 yards per carry against an FCS opponent, no matter who the FCS opponent is. So you'll want it, kind of. Turnovers. You won the turnover battle. You did not, for the second straight game, you did not turn the ball over. That's a plus.
Absolutely.
You will take that.
Absolutely. And I'll also say this. That is a plus on a wet field.
Yep.
Tough conditions. That is a plus. Seriously.
Where a lot of teams will turn the ball over, no matter who they play against,
Absolutely.
right? Playing a clean game on a sloppy field in disgusting conditions, especially when you wait 2.5 hours to start the game, yeah, that's a trap a lot of teams fall into.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a net positive. And you forced a turnover. I will say, the turnover you forced. Brian Thomas Jr. blew up Willie Atkins on that play. Mm-hmm. And Jaron Willis was right place, right time, scoop the ball and score it. So you scored on that turnover. The explosive play battle. This is where we get to the concerning stuff. South Carolina State won the explosive play battle 7-5.
Okay.
They had more explosive plays than you did. Now we can get a little bit subjective here.
Can I put you? Okay. South Carolina State winning the explosive play battle. Is that an indictment on the offense or the defense? Obviously both, but which one would you say that's more of an indictment on?
I would say it's more of an indictment on the offense because ultimately South Carolina State did have 7 explosive plays, pass plays of 15 yards or more, run plays of 10 yards or more. And you still, until the backups came in, kept them out of the end zone.
Mm-hmm.
The defense bent a little bit at times in the game,
which I told you might happen with a different type of offense where they can do some things that can get a little frustrating for a while.
Yep, but they didn't break, right? We went into the fourth quarter with South Carolina State having only 3 points on the scoreboard. It's a bigger indictment of the offense because against an FCS opponent, you should be able to have more than 3 plays of 10-plus yards, especially considering when some of those were. You only had 2 explosive run plays in the first half. And then in terms of offense, you didn't have any explosive passing plays. You, as an offense, only had 2 explosive plays in the first half of that game.
That's unacceptable. That's unacceptable. That dog won't hunt, however you want to say it. It's just that's not gonna work. And again, this is one game, and I'm not saying that a game is a indication of future games. I'm taking a data set of 3. But that is unacceptable in that particular game anytime, really, but against an FBS opponent, that should not be.
No, it absolutely should not be. Your offense shouldn't wait until halftime to be able to get it together.
And it's not as if they went crazy after halftime.
They had a really good scripted second half drive. I assume it's scripted. Might have to ask in the presser this week to confirm if they scripted that drive in the second half in the locker room, or if it was one of those things they just went out there and they maybe had a vague game plan. Some teams do script their first, second half drive, but they did finally march down the field and score a touchdown to start the second half, and the offense at least moved the ball significantly better in the second half, which is a plus you can take. Now we get to the subjective part. Did they play smart football? Did you think they were the smarter football team? And I'll throw the word cleaner in here too, in that game. I say no.
Continue.
Because of the penalties. Some of the I will accept penalties that happen when you play hard, right? Something that is just a byproduct of playing hard. If you accidentally, even if you hit a guy out of bounds, if it's one of those plays like it's a bang bang and it's like, okay, officiating interpretation just got the best of you, or if it's something that happens just through the flow of the game. but too many procedural penalties. If we want to break it down and get a little more specific, you had 1, 2, 3, 4 false starts in an illegal formation.
Again, unacceptable. That's only another word that I could say.
That's 5 procedural penalties in this game, and it's not game 1. You can live with that in game 1. I don't think you cannot live with that, especially if that happens against Vanderbilt, buddy. Because you know what Vanderbilt's not doing right now? They're not shooting themselves in the foot at all. They played a bad half against Virginia Tech and then came in the second half and completely wiped them off the face of the earth.
So you can look at that two ways. You can look at that and be like, that's very concerning finishing in game 2. Or maybe your Garnet goggles can look at it and say that's something that should be easily correctable. Should be.
Should be. Emphasis on the should. And then lastly, dominate the fourth quarter. Nope. Mostly because and you can maybe bake an FCS opponent into that because you're not going to play your starters in the fourth quarter.
Yes, and that's true. However,
your backups should be able to beat theirs.
Ipso facto, right?
Yes.
You know, like if you're better here, you should be better here. And here,
yes.
At whatever level we're talking about. So, and your players should be wanting to go into the game and prove that they should be playing or prove that they should get an opportunity or show the reason why they don't think that they should be there and that they should be, because there's several positions, running back, wide receiver, at least to my eye, tight end, those things look like they're up for grabs. So every snap seems like it's people that should be playing early playing time.
Especially considering you got an injury to Brady Hunt in the tight end room. He had to leave the game early. And defensively, you have guys that are going to need to step up because from what Shane discussed on Saturday after the game, he made it sound like the defensive room's a mash unit right now. And we'll get into that a little later in the show as well. But you look at the way South Carolina judges themselves, and then you apply it to the game against South Carolina State. Preston, does it change how you view Saturday?
Well, if you look at how they view themselves, then I would view it as a failure. They did not go out there and accomplish their mission. Yes, they were going to go out there and winning was number one. Aside from the top line item, everything else underneath that, I don't think they accomplished that. And I don't think they should feel great about their performance on Saturday. Based on the way that they judge themselves, there's probably not a lot to feel great about.
Yeah. I think what we just broke down kind of confirms what a lot of what we saw. And a lot of fans were not happy with how the game went down. I think looking at it through the scope of how they judge themselves, you can make the assumption it's going to be a rough film session.
Yeah.
It's going to be a really rough film session over the weekend and going on later into the season, or not season, later on into the week as we prepare for Vanderbilt. I think a lot of our priors leaving Williams-Brice on Saturday were confirmed. But what did Jen think about the game on Saturday? Because we sat in the press box for a while. It was maybe the longest press box night that we've had at Williams-Brice Stadium in a long, long time. Jen has her press box observations, and we will unveil a new segment. Jenny from the box is next.
Football is back. That's right, y'all. Football is back. You can compete here with Underdog Fantasy, and you can play right now in South Carolina. Playing in Underdog Fantasy is easy. Just pick whether your favorite players will go higher or lower on stats like touchdowns, receiving yards, interceptions, and more. This week, I'm looking at Justin Jefferson to go higher than 80.5 receiving yards. That's Justin Jefferson to go higher than 80.5 receiving yards. Download the app today and sign up with promo code EARLYGAME to score $50 in bonus funds when you play your first $5. That's promo code EARLYGAME. Millions of fans have already won billions making picks on Underdog. Will you be next? Must be 18 plus and present in South Carolina. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org.
With regards to the traffic conditions, we aren't seeing anything significant. We do have a disabled vehicle, and that is at I-20 eastbound at Longs Pond Road. But aside from that, no, like I said, no major slowdown, so we welcome that. And as far as that forecast goes, yep, it's going to be breezy for today and tomorrow, but a little bit cooler than it was last week. Looking for a high today of 81, 80 tomorrow, and then 82 on Wednesday before we get maybe mid-80s on Wednesday and Thursday, but right now, or Thursday and Friday, I should say, but right now, 66, a little bit of wind, 107.5 the game.
It's Reaction Monday. Time to put in a full review on what happened in South Carolina's 38-10 win over South Carolina State. I will say there was not as much abuse of me in the press box from one Jen Jensen because the offense did fail to launch in that first half.
There wasn't really anything that was just like, oh, there wasn't a lot of that.
Exactly.
No, there's a lot of but not oh.
The abuse might happen later in the season, but after one game hanging out in the South Carolina press box for the first home game of the season, Jen has observations.
Maybe I do.
Yes, she does.
This is when it would have been good to actually have some headphones in, but that's okay. A couple of quick observations. I would say, number one, not a winner, the clock operations person.
Oh, rough day. Rough day for the clock operator. How many times did the official have to go out and say, please reset the game clock to so-and-so? It was a lot.
It was. And then it was, please do that. And then it was like, no, really, please do that. Like, it was even more than once. I will say that the logos on the field, I was not... I know there were some people who were kind of questioning that and thinking, I think they were okay. They weren't too big. They weren't too obtrusive. I think overall, I think they look pretty good.
Yeah, and it played out on TV. It was not distracting or disturbing at all. I thought it was fine. Maybe we've just been conditioned to accept that. I don't know, but it looked okay.
Honestly, the TV broadcast that we were watching was more like, yeah, so we couldn't really get a good visual as far as on a screen.
There's a little bit of a streaming lag on the monitors on there. It made the replay watch when you look back up to try to get a replay a little difficult.
Yeah, if you go back to some 1980s things, Max Headroom, and there was all that and that was pretty much what we were watching in the press box. So I would say that. As far as the student section, rock on, man, solid in the rain. They were there. The harder it rained, the more they cheered and the towels going. So that respect was good. Love the helmets. I love that black helmet with the metallic, garnet on it and stuff like that. I just think that's a power look for them.
Larger logo too.
Yeah, and the larger logo. So I just think that really, literally reflects well. And I would say that Aaron Noland, we didn't really see any passing opportunities from him, but he handed off the ball nicely several times. But he has his own cheering section because you heard he was the only player where you heard, "Let's go, Nolan."
Okay.
So
and then I heard a "Let him throw it" chant break out too.
Let him throw it.
They wanted to see him throw the ball.
They really did. Yep. So I will say that I guess that would be another observation that I had for Saturday night, Sunday morning.
Because it did go into Sunday morning. Now, Tyler did bring it up to us in the press box that this defense has still not given up a touchdown on a Saturday.
That was an excellent point. Has not given it up because it was after midnight before we did.
Because he mentioned that. He said that after, because they, State scored that touchdown, and I was like, there goes the streak. And Tyler goes, well, they still haven't given up a touchdown on a Saturday. And I look over at the clock. It was 12:02.
Yep. So good for him. I mean, that's a very good observation. So those, I guess, that would be a few of my observations from the box.
That is Jenny from the box.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. A great game to start this segment with because you was in the box for a long time.
Oh my God! Yeah, yeah. It got kind of brutal. And I'll tell you what, when you have media people and they can't go anywhere, you need to feed them. So bless the lady who was trying to crank out the popcorn. Yeah. The line was long, Yeah. But it was a nice chance to catch up with some, broadcast friends and stuff and hang out.
It was. We got to watch Florida lose to South Florida.
Gosh.
That was a fun press box activity.
It was fun to watch Clemson losing initially in the first half.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You want to have a misery loves company type situation? Mm-hmm. They're having very similar discussions. Just a little bit up north.
Straight up the road, yeah.
Uh-huh. Oh, they have to be.
Yeah.
We're in the same boat, brother. In terms of you won the game, you did not look good doing it because Troy may or may not have went to the half with a 16-3 lead over Clemson.
Yeah, at least we didn't have that. At least we ain't.
Yeah, that's right.
Maybe there might be some sayings for that for sure.
But I want to go back to the students and the fans things too because they were awesome on Saturday.
Oh my gosh. And you thought maybe, and you kept seeing taillights on the road. And it's like, oh, people are leaving. I hate that. And no, when it came time to come back in, they were there. And I mean, it was well before 30 minutes before the game. Like once the rain kind of stopped, people were like, okay, we're in.
Yeah, people were well seated, well before players were even allowed to come back out on the field to start warming up.
Yeah, I had a meeting with some students yesterday, and I asked them how many of them were at the game. A significant amount where I was like, did y'all stay? And they were like, yeah. I was like, kudos.
Yeah.
Because, man, when I seen that rain, I would have been, not at the time, at my ripe old age now, I would have been looking for shelter. But you're 19 and 20 years old. You're supposed to be out in the rain doing stuff.
Well, you're supposed to. And eventually it did turn into kind of a shirts and skins kind of thing out there. But, you know.
Even better.
Yeah.
Even better.
Now, there was one person, one student who did, I guess, maybe succumb to boredom maybe the liquid courage consumed before entering the stadium and did surrender student tickets for a year because they did run out onto the field. We did have to have one person detained.
Yeah.
And now here's my big gripe. They left the stands, they got on the football field, ran out onto the field, only made about 5 yards before veering off to go back into the stands. Buddy, you're already on the field.
Yeah, it's
you
too
might
late.
as well go coast to coast.
Well, yeah, because basically just kind of made, like, cut a triangle.
Yeah.
That's kind of what he did. Like, really, if you're going to do it, yeah, go for broke because, you know, maybe there's a highlight video somewhere for you.
Were they streaking at least?
Stat pad.
No.
No.
Shirtless.
Shirtless, yes.
Yes.
That's not a great effort then.
No.
No, if you're going to go bigger.
Consequences are going to be the same, right?
Yeah.
So
The consequences are the same. You've already surrendered your ticket for the rest of the year. You might as well stat pad a little bit. That's Jenny from the box. We'll go ahead and take your reactions as well. 803-404-6100. Calls and texts coming up next. If you're anything like me, you love to save money. And my friends over at Zero Res are fantastic at helping you save money. And this month, the more you clean, the more you will save. Get 3 rooms for $119, 4 rooms for $144, and 5 rooms for just $169. Save up to $30 and schedule with Zero Res today, because if you have the daunted mystery stain on your carpet, or if just the toll of everyday life in your hectic schedule is creating some unfavorable situations for your carpet, well, Zero Res is here to do the hard work for you. Because have you ever stepped on a carpet that felt, gummy and matted down? Gross. It's disgusting. So let Zero Res take care of that with their patented cleaning process that uses no harsh chemicals, and it's a clean that's safe for your family and your pets. Schedule online at ZeroResColumbia.com. Zero Res, spelled backwards or forwards. It's the right way to clean. Reaction Monday continues. 803-404-6100. The number for the AAA Heating and Air phone lines and the Firehouse Subs text line. We'll get to a lot of the texts here in a little bit, but we'll hit the phones first, starting with Michael. Michael, good morning. Welcome to Reaction Monday here on the early game.
Good morning, guys. How y'all doing this morning?
Yeah, fantastic. How are you?
We're doing good, doing good. Something needs to change. And in my personal opinion, I think you have to switch Lonnie Teasley and Sean Elliott when it comes to position coaches, because you're going into...
Uh-oh. I think we lost Michael.
Now, earlier, I mean, you could blame the talent, you could blame that all day, but when you have a five-star on the offensive line and veteran and people with experience, there's no reason for you not to be able to get pushed and to run the ball against South Carolina State. Something needs to change. And I feel like Teasley isn't just the person, because this is huge, because with the talent we're supposed to have, the offensive line could determine whether you win 7 or 8 games or 9 or 10 games. The offense can't do anything if your offensive line can't block or get pushed. And I know a lot of people want to blame Shula for the play calling. It looks really basic to me. I mean, there's plays that just aren't being made by the people on offense. Nobody's playing great. Even Sellers, he can definitely play a lot better. And it's especially with Josiah Thompson. I mean, I don't know if he's injured, but he seems like he's really regressed from last year. I mean, he was playing really, really good ball last year. I don't know. It just seems like that whole left side of the line is getting abused. But I just want to get y'all thoughts. I felt like this is the normal thing, right? We start off slow every year. We usually get better down the road. I don't have worry to seem that we won't, but for the expectations that we have now, since we're a top 10 or top 15 team, so something has to change. We have to get better. I feel like Beamer has to make that change. All right, I hang up. Thank y'all for taking my call.
Yeah, thank you for your call, Michael.
Good call as always, Michael.
I would say the run blocking is the biggest concern on the offense right now, because you can maybe get away with not being great through the air if you can still assert your dominance on the run and be able to extend drives. You cannot continue to go 3 and out. I think we had, 3 and outs to start the game on Saturday against an FCS opponent. A lot of that's because you just couldn't run the ball.
Yeah, as you stated, and as Michael stated, you should have been able to line up against the South Carolina State team and being able to dictate where you want to run the ball. If the expectations are top 11 now, we're in top 11.
Yeah, no longer in the top 10.
Top 11 teams. But if that's what the expectations are, you should be able to do that against them, because South Carolina State, they are a traditional defense. Sometimes when you play these FCS schools, they might do something tricky-dicky where they're slanting or, doing all kinds of weird stuff. That's not what South Carolina State does.
No.
And so since they are traditional, you should have been able to line up against them and call your shot. And that was obviously not the case.
Put a hat on a hat and just be movers of men.
Correct.
And here's the thing. They have not been that. And in the run blocking, they have not really been that for 2 games. We're starting to see a little bit of a trend. That's got to change going into the first SEC game coming up on Saturday. We'll go ahead and get back to the AAA Heating and Air phone lines. Andy is on with us. Andy, good morning. Welcome to the early game.
Morning, guys. How are y'all?
Pretty good. How are you doing?
Good. Still tired from getting home late.
Messes up your sleep schedule a little bit.
That was the most unique experience I think I've had in a long time at Willie B, because I don't remember any game that started that late. Maybe y'all do, but I'm like, that was unique, let's just say. But I was there with my 11-year-old daughter, and she was talking about our O-line, and just because she doesn't know a lot, she said we looked undersized, like our guys are smaller. And I had no answer for that, because, I'm like, are we trying for quickness? Are we trying for athleticism? Or what? So I'm like, I don't know. I didn't have an answer for her, so I'll hang up and listen. Y'all have a good day.
Yeah, I mean, we did our Biggin Index at the beginning of the year in terms of having players that are at least 6'2" and 310. And, of course, those fellas, the Biggins, are going to be on the line of scrimmage. South Carolina last year was one of the lower-end SEC teams in terms of just the raw number of Biggins that you had. Now, they broke double digits, and they have more of them this year, but they're still maybe middle of the pack in terms of what an SEC team would look like in terms of just having players on the team that are at least 6'2" in height, at least 310 in weight. So if I don't think South Carolina State has. I don't think they have as many biggins. But here's the thing, and I think this is what your daughter might be viewing here, and this might be helping her formulate that take. They played bigger. I will say South Carolina State on the line of scrimmage plays bigger than what they are, and they played bigger on Saturday. What's the point of being a larger human being if you are not moving other large human beings? And that's the part of the run game I think that a lot of people are frustrated with, is that you have not played bigger than your opponents, even if you are bigger than your opponents. I think so for 2 in that category.
Yeah, you need to be able to do that. You need to be able to line up in front of somebody who you are more and impose your physical will on them. They did not do that. They have not done that for 2 games in a row. And if that's what the offense is going to be based on, because we still don't really have an identity as an offense, but if they're going to be based on running the ball, play action, well, the first part is you have to run the ball, and we're not able to do that right now.
No, that's
not with any consistency.
No, and that's really the big issue. If you can't run the ball to the success rate that you would like against South Carolina State, it's going to be harder to do it against Vanderbilt. It's going to be harder to do it against Missouri, right? That's really, I guess, the concern everybody has. You got away with it in this game. You got away with it against Virginia Tech. You play an SEC schedule. You have 8 games against teams in the Southeastern Conference. You will not get away with it once you get into that part of the schedule. I think that's where the angst comes from.
Don't look now. Oklahoma's cooking.
Yeah. They played a game against a team that does nothing but maul people at the line of scrimmage. That's their entire identity. And they led for the entire game. Ended up winning it rather comfortably. Hour number 1 in the books. More of your calls and texts to kick off hour number 2 on a Reaction Monday.
No major slowdowns at this point, and we hope it's a good Monday morning for you. I-20 eastbound at Longs Pond Road. The shoulder is blocked due to a disabled vehicle. And weather-wise, yeah, not too bad. A little bit cooler than it was last week. 81 today, 80 tomorrow. Breezy both days. Sunny and 82 on Wednesday before we get into, mid to upper 80s for the remainder of the week. 66 currently on 107.5 The Game.
And it's to punt it again. Carolina pressuring on the play, and we got a piece of it. It's blocked, and it's bouncing towards Vicari Swain, who picks it up again. Vicari at the 50 on this near sideline again. Same blockers at the 30, 20. Deja vu. 5. Touchdown Carolina. Touchdown Vicari Swain. What a crazy son of a gun.
What? I don't know
The ball was just rolling around the 40-yard line. He picked it up dangerously, got hit immediately, and then found that same wall that took him to the end zone. This one's 42 yards.
Did he say deja boom?
I think he did.
I was kind of impressive. Okay.
Todd Ellis and Tommy Suggs for all of us watching Vicari Swain pick up that punt in return, his second punt return for a touchdown that game, his third of the season. Video game Vicari, as I tried to dub him on Saturday night. Carolina Faithful tweeted
I think that has some legs.
Carolina Faithful tweeted at me and goes, "How about Vicari the Ferrari?" I mean, we cooked when it came to Vicari Swain nicknames on Saturday night. Brian from Lugoff says, "Guys, what about Vicari Swain? How he punts? Will he return for touchdowns? Over, under?" That's on our Firehouse Subs text line. Harry T also goes Vicari Swain for Heisman. If you want to put on some Garnet goggles, we'll do that for an entire segment later in the week. I think the best thing that you could take away is Vicari Swain did his best Devin Hester impersonation these first two games. And the funniest thing is when they announced in the press box that he tied the single season record for punt returns for a Gamecock in a season for touchdown. And then everybody in the press box kind of realizes we've only played 6 quarters of football for him to get to that point. It becomes pretty remarkable.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And with that idea, he's now a legitimate threat. And as I said earlier, something that other teams have to put in extra preparation in order to get ready to play this team on special teams. So that might mean now we're trying to figure out different ways to punt. Do we have to corner kick this? Do we have to rugby punt away from this? Are we taking up extra valuable time just so that that dude doesn't beat us? Because that's been, unfortunately, the source of points right now. So Vanderbilt, I guarantee you, is putting in extra time on their punt team.
Yeah, you might not even see them kick to him. I think we're getting to that point and giving an over-under. Sorry, Brian, I'm afraid that the over-under is going to be really hard to give just because the real question is over-under how many teams actually decide to kick to him. At this point, if I'm a team that has a special teams unit that might be a little suspect, I'm making sure number 4 is not touching the ball.
Right, but what happens is when teams try to kick away from somebody, that might lead to bad kicks, that leads to all types of things like that. So it's just a little extra pressure that obviously the offense needs right now.
Exactly, and they need all the support they can get, and they got it from 3 special teams or defensive touchdowns. So far on the year, the South Carolina Gamecocks have scored 8 touchdowns. 4 of them have come from defense and special teams.
Glass half full, glass half empty type of deal?
This is the perfect fandom Rorschach test I think you could possibly get to see exactly how optimistic you are.
How optimistic are you?
Exactly. Do you look at that as a good thing or as this is doomsday?
I can't tell you how to feel.
Yeah,
we can just present them numbers.
We will present this to you. We'll tell you how we feel. We cannot tell you.
Can you say that one more time and just in case somebody did not hear that?
8 touchdowns on the season for South Carolina.
Okay.
4 of them have come by way of defense or special teams. 3 punt returns and a Jaron Willis scoop and score.
I don't know.
I'll say this. I don't love it. But I hear 4 defense special team touchdowns in the first 2 games of the year, and you're like, oh, wow, okay, yeah, you're probably scoring 50 points a game. You are not scoring 50 points a game. Before we get to more calls, too, let's hear from Shane Beamer. Saturday as well. Technically, that was yesterday. The press conference was at like 12:45. This was technically yesterday. Shane talked about Vakari Swain, how much a weapon he has become in the punt.
Huge. What a play by him. And then credit to the 10 guys out there, too. I mean, they're working their rear ends off to get returns started. And then you see the effect of it that, one, we scored 14 points tonight with our special teams units, but then we also block a punt as well. So when you're that big of a threat to return punts like we are right now, teams, they got to get in the coverage, which also, makes it gives us a great opportunity to put pressure on them and try and block punts as well, which is what we were able to do. But again, we need to continue to get stops. That needs to continue to be a weapon for us. Our defense needs to continue to be a weapon for us. And then offensively, we've got to coach and play better than what we have the last couple weeks as well, because what did we scored 17 points offensively last week, and then tonight was 17, I think. Again, like, our defense is good, but to ask them to hold teams to 17 points every single week's not what we want to do.
Not what you want to do, and not very realistic. But yeah, I think the way he described Vakari Swain is pretty accurate. Now, a lot of you, like me, were watching that second kick where it was blocked. David Busey made an incredible play to block the punt, and it rolls over to Vakari Swain, and he picks it up in a crowded area. I think a lot of us were either watching our TV or you're in the stands saying, no. Yeah, I call that like the J.R. Smith shot selection. Sometimes like, what are you doing? Oh, great shot.
Nice shot.
Man, nice shot.
Yeah.
Nice shot. Vakari Swain had a little bit of that, but Vakari Swain elaborated on why he picked up that block punt and then was able to score a touchdown. This week cut 17.
Oh, yeah, when it was blocked, it's a rule called no consequence. So if it hits off the opponent and they don't pick it up, I mean, I can do whatever. If I fumble, whatever, it's still going to be our ball. So use my situational awareness and picked up and scored.
Now, that is a rule. So if a team blocks a kick and the team who is the kicking team touches the ball without picking it up, because they can pick it up and then it's dead right there, right? But if they touch it and don't pick it up, that is illegal touching, essentially creating a free play later on, right? That is something that that is taught in that special teams room. And I think what Vakari kind of unveiled to all of us was they are teaching ways to be able to take advantage of any type of loophole in special teams that they can.
Yeah, and more importantly than them teaching it, he's learning it, because I'm not sure if anybody would have had the presence of mind, the football IQ to identify in that particular situation, say, oh, yeah, this is the thing that we were talking about, and then go out there and execute it. Because I, like everybody, like probably majority of people, was like, no. Oh, okay. All right. This is good.
How quickly upon him actually fielding the punt did you realize, oh, he's gone?
Yeah. When you saw it and you see him sort of make he gets hit first, and he's like, he's going to fumble. But obviously with the non-consequence rule, that wouldn't have mattered. But, yeah, I think they're obviously teaching it, and he's obviously shown why he's back there, because there's probably a high level of football intelligence that he has to put that in order in that moment and go through the processes and say, like, I'm making this play right now. That's a huge credit to him and the coaching staff.
Kids would call that a galaxy brain play.
Yeah, for sure.
But one thing that I noticed about Vakari that's been really impressive is he's not just like a speed guy. He's broke tackles on a few of these, right? Mm-hmm. He will run through contact a little bit.
Especially at the end of the runs.
At the end of
he's
a
finishing.
Run. Yeah, out of the 3 touchdowns, 2 of them he was hit going into the end zone, and he finishes the run well, right? The second one, he could have skipped into the end zone, or he could have cartwheeled into it, someone could get him a pogo stick, and he could have pogo stick the last 10 yards into the end zone because he had so much space to be able to run. Vicari Swain really been a revelation on this team. Back to the AAA Heating and Air phone lines. Ray is on the line with us. Ray, appreciate your patience. How you doing this morning? Welcome to the early game.
Oh, doing okay. Finally getting a little bit of rest, from that late night game or early morning game, however you want to put it. But, yeah, I mean, what can you say about Vicari the Ferrari? I think that's the best name.
That's good.
I think you can go ahead and just end it right now. I don't know how a name can be topped. I mean, that's that's gold there. But he was absolutely phenomenal, and it's just, it's just amazing. I mean, up to that point, I don't know if we even crossed midfield, guys. Maybe we did one time. I know we had 11 yards of offense in the first quarter. And, I mean, to tell you, I was very concerned, and, golly, I love Shane Beamer as my head coach, and I always will. However, being said that, we just can't find that OC, guys. And I just do not think it's Shula. I had concerns last year. I worked with a guy who's from Bama who went to Alabama, and he just kind of crossed his head like, okay, you guys just wait what you see. And I'm very concerned. I'm really concerned about the offense, the offensive line, the fact that we recruited all these offensive linemen in the last 3 years, but I believe about 6 transferred out. There's some big problems there, but I'm more concerned about our offensive coordinator because you look at that team, you got to play your strengths. We can't run the ball, so the way we got to set up our running game is through the pass game. But we're trying to set up the pass game through the run game, and we can't run. Mm-hmm. It is absolutely the definition of insanity.
Yeah.
I mean, Shane's got to make some changes. He's got to do it now. I don't mean get rid of the OC or anything like that, but he's got to go. He's got to get in there and just try to figure this thing out because the SEC has and always will be. It's a line of scrimmage league, and I'm not saying you got to be able to run the ball and get 4 yards every time. But you got to have a cohesive offensive unit. And in the 3 games so far with Shula, the offense hasn't been anything but cohesive. And guys, I think we got some big concerns. You know, on the defensive side, God, give him credit. It's good to great. And I don't like to use great because a lot of people use great way too loosely. Mm-hmm. I think the special teams, you could probably say, have been great. I mean, they're borderline great. But the offense has been very – I mean, we're at the bottom of the league almost every year in offensive categories, even last year. I mean, I know it's hard to believe, but even last year we were at the lower end. And what I've seen so far this year, I mean, think about it, guys. You have an electrifying all-world quarterback who's going to be a first-round draft and probably eventually will sign a $100 million contract in the NFL. You got a wide receiver who's 6'5" and has world-class Olympic speed. And you got some good young receivers, and you got tight ends. I don't even think we threw it to the tight end one time, but there's some big, big questions on the offensive side, and in my opinion, it's all coaching. But, hey, guys, thanks for letting me talk.
Yeah, appreciate your call as always, Ray. Always good to hear from you, buddy. I agree and disagree at the same time on a couple of those things. I agree that the offense isn't very good right now, and I agree that if you don't get better in that regard and you don't get some consistency, especially even from Lenoris, we'll put Lenoris in this group too. Lenoris did not have his best game at all on Saturday. Lenoris will be the first one to tell you. He admitted as such on Saturday night, Sunday morning, right? The one thing where I guess I disagree on the play calling right now, because this is very subject to change, you have to be able to see if you can run the ball against an FCS opponent. You should be able to. And I think having to get them figuring it out is probably the way to go. There's an execution problem right now. I didn't really sit and think, with the exception of a couple times, where I was like, I probably wouldn't have run that right there. There were some throws, I guess, that Lenoris just missed. There's a really good breakdown from Jordan Reed, who works for ESPN. He does a lot of draft stuff where he breaks down some plays where he watches the film and says, the pass is here, he just doesn't see the receiver, right? That stuff needs to be worked out. But in terms of, here's where the adjustment might happen. You might see this team become a pass to set up the run type team. Because after 2 games of sample size, I think Ray has come to the correct conclusion. You are not running the ball anywhere near well enough to be able to win in this league. And for a game like this, I feel like you absolutely have to find out if you can run the ball. If there's any game where you can test out your run game, it's against an FCS opponent.
Yeah, and they failed the test.
They failed the test. Yeah, you failed the test.
They failed the test on Saturday for sure. Again, for me personally, I like 3 games of sample size to see what is happening. Now, the thing about running the ball against a team that you're supposed to be able to move around is that it doesn't matter whether there's a 2-hour delay or whether you're playing, like Coach Holmes would say, we could play them in a parking lot. It doesn't matter. You should be able to get that done. And I think for people that have concerns, I think they're valid. Whether you want to say it's the O-line or the OC or whatever, because the offense is not producing right now. Now, how we parse through that, I think one more game will help us parse through that and figure out where the disconnect is. But if you have concerns about the offense, you're not wrong.
No, you're not wrong.
And statistics would support where you are.
Yeah, and I think that's what offensive coordinators do is you see what you do in live game action, and you adjust throughout the year accordingly. Now, if we see them do the same things and still continue to try to run the ball and not throw the ball more than 19 times in a game, because we've gotten 2 games so far, and you've thrown 19 pass attempts, and we've noticed you are not running the ball well enough right now, we might see that change later on in the season. We'll take a quick break. We'll get more of your calls and texts and get you caught up from around the world of college football and what you may have missed coming up next in the early game morning meeting. All right, grass is green, water is wet. Mid-State Roofing is the leader in roofing and waterproofing industry, and they've been so for nearly 30 years. That's why it's so reliable, right? That's why you can say a phrase like that and it be factually correct, because it doesn't matter if it's high-rise or hospitals or if the job is manufacturing to industrial. Mid-State Roofing designs and installs those bonded systems, that protective guarantee. And that guarantee is something Mid-State Roofing has been able to provide and give you that peace of mind that your facility or your home, your business, no matter what it is, will be protected and dry running long into the future. And you can also protect that roof with a maintenance contract. So more protection, whether it be the physical protection or the protection of the roof itself. Mid-State Roofing is here to get that for you. 803-356-1919. Of course, you can always hit them up online at midstateroofing.com. If you have a leak, let Mid-State Roofing take a peek.
I-26 eastbound at St. Andrews Road, we do have a report of an accident there, so allow a little extra time. 81 for the high today, 80 tomorrow, 82 on Wednesday. It's going to be breezy today and tomorrow, so just kind of keep that in mind. 66 currently on 107.5 The Game.
Reaction Monday continues, but it's time for a nice little reset because as we do every day at 7:15, we don't jump around. You can if you want to. Good way to get your day started. But a better way to get your day started is by meeting with us in the morning for our early game morning meeting.
Today will be an awesome day. Let's go. Good morning, great today. Today will be an awesome day. Good morning, great today. Today will be an awesome day.
An awesome day is when you do wake up 2-0.
That's true, correct.
You play 2 football games, you win 2 football games.
That is correct.
It feels good to be 2-0.
Everybody did not wake up on this side of 2-0, so we are definitely thankful and grateful for that. And we are thankful that we can be 2-0 and still have a lot of corrections to make.
Yep.
A lot of corrections to make.
Yes, still room for growth.
Lots of growth. It's a good spot to be in when you're 2-0 and nobody feels satisfied or happy with that. And that's not as a fan, and I'm sure that's over there in the building too.
Yeah, the expectations are higher. We talked about that all offseason. The expectations are going to be significantly higher for this game or for this season than it's been in a long time. And that's where a lot of the frustration comes from, is because you have a chance right here to do something really special with this group. And you've seen it in flashes. You just need to see it applied more.
And so because of the disappointing performance on Saturday, we were a top 10 team. But ladies and gentlemen, kids, the number for today is not 1-0. It's 1-1. We were rightfully dropped out of the top 10. I don't disagree with this. I don't think that was a performance worthy of being a top 10 team. I tried to look and see the other teams that they bumped up into there. You know who they did bump up on there? You know.
A team that we are all too familiar with. A team that we can call our ops now.
They the ops. And they moved up in there, and rightfully so, because they handled Duke very well. But Illinois stepped up in there. But I don't disagree with us dropping out of the top 10. That wasn't top 10 worthy performance.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with that at all, especially when if you watch the Illinois-Duke game, where Duke was the aggressor for the first quarter, and then a muffed punt kind of kick-started Illinois a little bit, and it went from Duke feeling like they were in control for the first part of the game to Illinois just beating them over the head with a bag of hammers for the last 3 quarters. They took it to them, and I think that was a performance worthy of a top 10 team, to play a team that's all right. I'm not expecting Duke to go 8-4. I think Duke can go 7-5 and be a fun 7-5 team, because Darian Mensah is a fun quarterback to watch. But they went on the road in a true road game and took care of business. A team that I don't expect to see in the top 10, and we will not see in the top 10, because their schedule only gets more brutally difficult. Florida got beat by South Florida.
Yeah, we will have we're going to have a whole discussion on this in our 50 Ways to Lose the Ball Game. We will be there for sure. But, yeah, that's not what you wanted to do if you were old Sunbelt Billy for that one right there.
He might be Sunbelt Billy again after this year. And by might, I mean, he probably is.
Yeah, when the athletic director is putting out the vote of confidence statement after game 2.
Nope. Nope. You don't love that.
Not great. Don't look now. Oklahoma.
They looked really they looked good. John Mateer will make some plays where he'll make a throw or two where you're like, where are you throwing the ball? Or a couple plays where it's like, you don't have to do the Matt Stafford arm angle thing. You can just throw it normal and you can get to the wide receiver. But he will also make magic happen.
Yeah.
And he made some magic happen in Norman.
He's an exciting player. As I said, I guess a frame of reference. He's not him, not yet anyway, but Johnny Manziel-ish.
Archetype. He is of the Johnny Manziel archetype.
Of that archetype, yeah, exactly. He's a little bit undersized. He does things unconventionally in and out of the pocket. Will make some plays that are. He's a quintessential. No. Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Right. What we saw with Vicari Swain in the punt return against.
That's the John Mateer quarterbacking experience. So just keep that on your radar as we move through the season.
And they ran the ball better. That was the one thing we talked about going into that game was can they actually run the ball against Michigan because they didn't run it particularly well against Illinois State. Another thing, something they did not look very impressive against an FCS opponent. They had Michigan come into town, a top 20 team, and they handled business. Oklahoma can be a frame of reference of how you can maybe disappoint in certain areas in an FCS game. I'm not saying it's a total complete comparison because they did light up Illinois State through the air, but they didn't run the ball very well against them at all. Their best runs against Illinois State was John Mateer bailing out of the pocket and making plays happen with his feet. They ran the ball a whole lot better against Michigan, and that was just from week 1 to week 2.
Our friends in the upstate did not have a good time on Saturday.
They did not. Down 16-3 at half. And for them, they turned it on in the second half the way you're supposed to against a Sun Belt opponent. But it did not look very good. Their weather delay was a little different. They started the game and then had to have a lengthy weather delay before coming back and having to play the rest of the game. But not their best performance against Troy. They dropped. Did they drop in the standings, or did they? I can't remember what they were going into it, or standings rankings. They're not standings.
Oh, they did drop in the standings. Yes.
Yes.
They dropped to number 12, so we're ahead of them.
Yeah.
Still.
So both teams, both
rightfully so.
Yeah, teams in this rivalry did not play their best.
And again, this is why I say that these being in the polls is where your starting position is so important because we dropped to number 11. And that's only because we were number 10. If we were lower, there's chances that we could have dropped. There's plenty of other 2-0 teams that are in the top 25. Mm-hmm. And there's no evidence to say that we're any better than them. But because we started high, you get a longer parachute to fall down. So an easy way to remedy that is to go and win on Saturday. But we'll see.
For a good example of that, where's Tennessee right now? They are what?
They are 15.
15? Would you say Tennessee has played significantly better on both sides of the football in the first 2 weeks of the year?
I would.
Because they beat an ACC opponent in Atlanta like South Carolina did and put up a lot of points doing so. They had an FCS opponent. They hung 71 on them.
Correct.
And they're 15 because of where we started.
Because of where they started.
Yes.
They started, at least, and they were 21 last weekend. And did they start even ranked?
I know they started ranked,
right outside,
low. Yeah, very low.
So they're having to rise up as far as and not rise up like my Falcons, which I'm learning. I had my first. I got baptized in Falconism this weekend.
Well, congratulations, congratulations.
We're here. I get it. All right, but anyway, rise up. Yeah. So where you start has a lot to do with where you end up being ranked.
Yeah, the Falcons, unfortunately, on Sunday when it mattered most, rose up and went wide right.
I'm learning some things.
That was baptism by fire in Falcons fandom. Hold on, David. We'll get your call to start this the next segment. But also coming up, we have a new entry in 50 Ways to Lose a Football Game. And our boy Billy Napier is going to help us figure out a very unique way to lose because we're not letting him off the hook in this one either. That's next here in the early game.
Just one accident to make you aware of, I-26 eastbound at St. Andrews Road. 81 today, 80 tomorrow, kind of breezy both days. And then Wednesday, going to be sunny and 82. We get to 86 for Thursday and Friday. Again, sunny skies, but a little bit milder this week. Currently, a little bit breezy, 66. A little bit cloudy as well on 107.5 The Game.
It's Reaction Monday. We'll head out to the AAA Heating and Air phone lines before we get to 50 ways to lose a football game because Florida, buddy, they gave you something you think you might not have ever seen before. But we'll get to that here in just a bit. David is on the AAA Heating and Air phone lines. David, good morning. Welcome to the early game.
Hey, good morning, y'all. How are y'all?
Fantastic. How are you?
Good. So, yeah, obviously, I was not impressed with the win Saturday night. Like, I would call that a struggle win, even though you won by, however much you won by. But I was going to ask, do you think there's some sandbagging going on, like the first couple of games, trying to hold the cards close to the vest? Because I'm not real impressed with the play calling either. It's just, I don't know. Maybe I'm overthinking it, or maybe the offense just isn't that good. What do y'all think?
I think in terms of play calling, David, I think it's a likelihood. I don't know if that's exactly the case. If you look at, I guess, Mike Shula's history as a play caller, he's not one of what I would, maybe consider like the innovators, guys who are incredibly creative. I think he gets a lot out of certain players. I think what you saw in 2015 with Cam Newton and the team that went to the Super Bowl was I don't think they were running anything groundbreaking. They executed really well, and he was a good play caller in terms of the flow of the game, right? He was really good at setting up deep balls, really good at, creating a really good running game. I think in a situation like South Carolina State, I think playing a more vanilla offense is something you should do because I don't think you want to really get into your bag of tricks and put that on film in a game where you should be able to do whatever it is that you desire to do as an offense. You should be able to do even from a more minimalistic framework.
Yeah, I got you. I appreciate it, y'all. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, appreciate your call, David.
Yeah, and I agree with that. We have a three-game sample size. We haven't seen Shula go deep into a trick bag as far as play calling is concerned. We are getting an idea of what he likes to do. That being said, now's the time.
Now is the time. Coming up on Saturday
if you were holding him close to your chest, okay, whatever. Now's the time to call him.
You maybe don't have to empty the clip, but you got to fire off some rounds, right? Sure. I think the game that's going to be played here on Saturday is one that's going to require you to have to do that. 50 ways to lose a football game. Let's hit it. As Paul gets us ready, there are many ways a team can lose a game throughout the course of 4 quarters. And on Saturday in Gainesville, Florida, they summoned Paul Simon on a multitude of reasons. A defensive lineman on the final drive of the game. We will just fast forward this to the final drive of the game because as bad as Florida played, they found themselves up 1 with South Florida getting the ball under 2 minutes left. And a slew of things happened, Preston Thorne. Florida gave up 15 free yards on a pass interference penalty.
Correct.
The following play, they gave up 15 more free yards because a defensive lineman spat in the face of a South Florida offensive lineman. My brother in Christ, it's bad enough on the surface. Spitting on another man in a football game is bad enough as is. It's even worse when the most high-profile football game on the American calendar in September that's already been played. The entire story was Jalen Carter not playing because he spat on Dak Prescott.
We just had this conference. Just like if you're a parent, you're like, we just talked about this. You just saw this. What are you doing?
It wasn't even 48 hours ago.
We just finished having this conversation. Absolutely atrocious play, man. And unfortunately, or fortunately, however you want to look, when it's going bad, people are just going to point to Billy Napier and say, hey, lack of discipline, lack of character, whatever you want to ascribe to that, you can absolutely do it because it was in a crunch moment.
Uh-huh.
They got the stop.
Yeah, they had to stop. They had it right there.
And there was nothing even, okay, spitting is not justified. I do not condone it, all of that. But again, I played football. Some bad stuff happens on the field. I'm not above saying that. But what I am saying is that there was nothing on those plays that I had seen or unless something was said. I don't know, but you have to be able to have some sort of self-control in that moment. The ref is right there.
Clear view of it. You're not getting away with that.
It was as obvious and clear as day. And then obviously they walk down. You give them an extra time after you got the stop. They walk down and they're going to win the game.
Because giving South Florida 30 free yards, right, that's not enough. Billy Napier had a whole bank of timeouts.
Mm-hmm.
South Florida now is getting really close to field goal range. And instead of, well, not just into field goal range, they were in field goal range. At this point, it's an easy field goal. They're still 45 seconds getting down below that. Instead of using the timeouts to maybe give your team a chance to get the ball back, because at this point, South Florida is kicking a field goal regardless. Preston Thorne, if I give you two scenarios, you tell me which one you'd rather be in. Opposition kicks a field goal to try to win the game with 2 seconds left, or opposition tries to kick a field goal to win the game with 45 seconds left.
Absolutely.
Which one are you taking?
Give me time.
Give me time to be able to engineer a drive myself, because you know what? South Florida kicks that field goal, it's a 2-point game. A field goal wins it for you. You have DJ Lagway.
There you go. That's the way you're supposed to be thinking. We got a guy. Let's give my guy some time.
Let's give my guy some time. You know what Billy Napier does?
Nothing. He went to the Deion Sanders School of Timeout Management.
Of not using your timeouts and saving them for another game, which, newsflash, coaches, you cannot take with you.
Not transferable.
He does not use those timeouts until South Florida is near the goal line.
They're kicking an extra point.
Yeah. So they're about at the 11, right? South Florida, if they get a first down, it's a slim chance you get a first down and don't score a touchdown. He then starts using the timeouts. At this point, there's like 15 seconds left. South Florida then on third down gets a quarterback draw to be able to convert a first down. It's first and goal on like the 2-yard line. They can use their timeout because Alex Golish knew how to use his timeouts and manage them for when he needed them. Called a timeout, set up a field goal with 2 seconds left. They kick what is basically an extra point, and South Florida upsets the Gators. Out of all the games on Florida's schedule, you could look at South Florida outside of LIU Brooklyn as the easiest game on the schedule. Now they will have to play 4 top 10 teams in the next 5 weeks.
4 top 10 teams in the next 5 weeks. It's not looking great.
No. And the game that was a disaster that was absolutely avoidable, the Florida Gators could not get out of their own way.
And here's the thing. We might be finding out that South Florida ends up being pretty good. They're going to go to Miami this week. Let's see what they do there.
They did beat the brakes off Boise State.
But it doesn't matter.
No.
Because you cannot be Florida and lose to a directional Florida school. Can't do that. Cannot happen.
Especially a school named South Florida that's really not in the southern part of Florida. Yes, I guess it is south of the Panhandle, but there are a lot more further south parts in Tampa. You cannot lose that game.
Yeah, just to go over that schedule real quick. Florida, LSU, Florida, Miami, Texas A&M. And then after that, they got the Mississippi State Bulldogs. Watch out.
Watch out. Tough team. Hey, I will take those 6.5 underdog points.
Watch out.
I told you they're not easy to prepare for. The offense is not easy to prepare for. And if you play around with Jeff Levy's Bulldogs, you will find out.
And messed around and found out.
There is the mess around stage. There is the find out stage. You do not want to get to the find out stage. Arizona State did. Florida can if they're not careful.
So it's not just the loss. It's the way you lose this particular game, right? You lose it with the team looking undisciplined, you looking like you got outcoached towards the end. All those things add up to a fan base walking out of the game saying "Fire Billy," and that's what was happening. And then your AD has to put out a vote of confidence for you. Not great.
Not good after 2 games. Not good at all. We also yesterday had our first day of an NFL Sunday slate. Preston Arreston will give his thoughts next.
Football is back, and Underdog is the best place to make picks and win money all season long. Playing Underdog Fantasy is easy. Just pick whether your favorite players will go higher or lower on stats like touchdowns, receiving yards, interceptions, and more. This week, I'm looking at Justin Jefferson to go higher than 80.5 receiving yards. Justin Jefferson higher than 80.5 receiving yards. Download the app today and sign up with promo code EARLYGAME to score $50 in bonus funds when you play your first $5. That's promo code EARLYGAME. Millions of fans have already won billions making picks on Underdog. Will you be next? Underdog. Make picks, win money. Must be 18 plus and present in South Carolina. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org.
Always reliable, John Ecton and his team at the Ecton Law Firm. We talk about good teams on this show all the time, and that doesn't even just stay within the segments. It carries over in the breaks, too, because John Ecton and his team at the Ecton Law Firm have been alleviating tax stress, business and income tax stress, for many, many years here in the great state of South Carolina, and they provide free consultations, too, and you can set yours up today at 803-771-9800. Him and his local team in resolving income or business tax issues for good, and they understand those challenges that you or your business can face because that pesky IRS maze can be hard to get out of. Sometimes it might feel like an insurmountable challenge. Well, John Ecton and his team, they excel when it comes to insurmountable challenges. They make them feel a lot more surmountable. Again, 803-771-9800. You can always hit them up online, too, at ectonlawfirm.com. That's ECTONlawfirm.com. Ah, the joys of an NFL Sunday. Unless you're a Falcons fan.
Rise up.
That was tough. I thought they had it won. I thought they at least had it overtime. I think you go to overtime, I like your chances. Young Wei Koo misses a field goal at the very end of the game. That was brutal.
Yeah, and as I'm just getting in line with this, a lot of my Falcon brethren are calling for us to find a kicker. I believe he's 18 of his last 28.
Not going to cut it.
That's not gonna do it.
Because they played I thought they played really well. I think the Buccaneers should be the odds-on favorite to win that division. You had them right where you wanted them. A makeable field goal, chance to win in overtime at home. And I thought the Falcons played really well otherwise. I thought they were really good yesterday. Otherwise,
it's encouraging.
All people are going to remember.
It's encouraging.
But it is very encouraging. And there's still 16 games to go. But that does not stop us from overreacting to things. It's time for Preston or Reston, Week 1 NFL edition. Preston or Reston, the Ravens. Man, talk about a game last night. I mean, I punted on some sleep because I was like, I must see how this game ends. I cannot go to bed wondering how this game is going.
This is why the NFL is, first off, Preston. But this is why the NFL is the king, because they put a game like this Week 1, which could have very well have been a Super Bowl game. Maybe it's a conference championship preview or something along those lines, but that game last night was fantastic. And then to watch those two dudes playing quarterback at the highest level, seeing some of the plays that they make is fantastic.
It's a masterclass at the quarterback position.
Both of them are awesome, man. Great game. They'll see each other again.
Preston or Reston, the Ravens losing that 15-point lead in the fourth quarter says more about the Bills and Josh Allen than it does the Ravens.
Ooh. Preston, I'll roll with that. I think this is one of those games where they had a 15-point lead, but it was going to be played to a certain score anyway. They would just happen to be above that point. That being said, you put the ball in future Hall of Famers' hands.
First ballot Hall of Famer, Derrick Henry. Yeah.
You expect it to get done. You expect the job to get done, and he unfortunately coughed it up.
Especially the way he played. He had 18 carries for 169 yards and 2 touchdowns. He was unstoppable all night, but you needed him to milk some clock, and he fumbles the ball.
Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah. Hey, one team's best players made more plays and made fewer bad plays than the other, and that was ended up being the margin in the Bills' 41-40 win. Preston or Reston, the last place AFC West Kansas City Chiefs have their work cut out for them because the other 3 teams in that division, they won football games.
They did win football games. Wasn't too impressed with the Broncos, though, so maybe there's something there. Raiders.
I told you the Titans were going to at least give them a game.
They did give them a game. Raiders were interesting. I think the Chiefs are all right, so I'm resting on that one. Chiefs are all right.
The Dolphins and Mike McDaniel are cooked, Preston or Reston.
Put me in line for that one for sure. That one's not going well. And what do you know? Tyreek Hill is throwing a fit on the sideline.
I'm stunned.
Who would have guessed?
Do you hear this voice, Preston Thorne? This is my shocked voice. I'm stunned.
Who would have known?
Been more stunned.
Who would have known that it's not going to work with that guy as the leader of the team? So keep a close eye on that. I believe we're on hot seat alert.
Get a load of this. You go to the Indianapolis Colts, the team I think most people would have agreed would have been one of the worst teams in the AFC this year. Them and the Browns, right? We figured, those teams are probably going to be fighting in the cellar of the AFC. The Dolphins lose 33-8. Daniel Jones goes 22 for 29 for 272 and a touchdown.
Danny Dimes.
And the Colts scored on every possession of the football game. The Dolphins have never been more cooked.
That's really difficult to handle. I think the magic's gone, man.
It's gone.
The magic is gone. It was cute. It was cool. Look at this guy wearing sunglasses on the sideline and capri pants or whatever he was doing. It's a wrap.
Last one, Preston or Reston. The Steelers giving up 32 to the Jets should dispel the generational defense tag that they got in the offseason.
I'm going to go Reston on that one.
Need more sample size?
Yes. But shout out to the expendable Steelers for getting the dub.
They got it done. To their credit, they got it done. That was a hard-fought win. The Jets gave them everything they could handle. The Jets actually played a really good football game. Hour number 3 of the early game coming right up.
Stop and go traffic, I-26 eastbound between Broad River Road and St. Andrews Road. So between 97 and exit 106, we do have that stop and go traffic this morning. I-20 westbound, exit 98, the left lane is closed. There's actually some construction going on, so be careful there. Make sure you stay within the speed guidelines in the construction zone. 81 for the high today, 80 tomorrow, 82 on Wednesday. It's going to be breezy today and tomorrow. Then the sun starts to shine more on Wednesday. We keep that sunshine really through the weekend. 86 Thursday and Friday. We're looking like game day right now, sunny and 84.
Hour number 2 of the early game starts right now. I'm Elijah Campbell. He's Preston Thorne. She's Jen Jensen. We are reacting with you on this Monday following South Carolina's 38-10 home opening win over South Carolina State, a game that I am sure is quite the Rorschach test for any Gamecock fan who watched it or who stuck around the 2 hours during the 2.5 hours during the rain delay or weather delay at Williams-Brice Stadium on Saturday.
The Rorschach test you're referring to is this. South Carolina has scored 8 touchdowns this season. However, or however you want to state this, 3 of them have been on special teams, 1 on defense. So half of the team's touchdowns have come in non-conventional ways, I shall say. The question we're kind of trying to figure out is, how do you see this? Is this a positive thing? Is this a negative thing? Or is it somewhere in between? This is the question.
I love seeing the special teams. Love seeing that. I think that's a great thing. But that's an accessory. That is not your foundation.
Great word.
Yes, that is the accessory.
Great word. The sides, if you will.
Yes, that's not your entree. It's your sides.
It's like going to Cracker Barrel and your entree was not very good, but that hash brown casserole delivered. Delivered.
Exactly.
Because it does. It's the best thing on their menu.
But you can't just go on carbs alone. You got to have protein.
Need some meat. And that's where the offense probably is. And if you're saying half of the team's touchdown production has come from alternate measures, then that leaves something very much to be desired on the offensive side of the ball.
It certainly does, and I know a lot of you feel that same way. We'll go back to the AAA Heating and Air phone lines. Jacob is on the line right now. Jacob, good morning. Welcome to the early game. We present you the Rorschach test that was the game on Saturday. How are you seeing the ink blots here?
Man, I tell you, I was fired up watching that game all day. We got to find the offensive line to establish this run game. You can't blame it on the offensive coordinator. You can't blame it. We got to have an offensive line.
I mean, the offensive line is maybe the more essential part of a running game. The running backs do matter, but the offensive line has to be able to clear holes for you, because no matter who your running back is, unless they're Barry Sanders, right, you are not turning consistently 3-yard losses into 5-yard gains. It's a tough ask. And if you're not getting enough push on the line, you're asking your running backs to do an awful lot.
I mean, you can say, play calling's been vanilla, this, that, and the other, but you can't make an offensive line be vanilla. You've got to go out there and block. And that's just as plain as it is right there.
Absolutely. Yeah, I appreciate your call, Jacob. Preston, I want to get your take on this. When it comes to run blocking, because the difference between run blocking and pass blocking, I think a lot of offensive linemen prefer to run block because it is just a more aggressive, violent nature of football. You get to be the attacker, not the protector. What are you not seeing from this Gamecock offensive line to make the running game be better against an opponent where you are going to be inherently bigger, faster?
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't feel like I see emphasis of a point of attack as in we're going to run the ball here and we're going to move any and everything that is here away from it. We're going to clear the streets, street sweep, or however you want to call it. Have not seen that. There's a lot of leakage. What that means is that you'll see guys from the defensive line on the other side of the ball, on the other side. They're not winning the neutral zone and moving people backwards. And it doesn't feel like, especially against a team like South Carolina State, where you are supposed to be bigger and stronger than, you should be able to get that accomplished if you do this enough times. And they never did that. It seems like there's a lack of aggression in the run game and being able to open those holes. And that is something that if you are, I've said it before and continue to say it. If you have concerns about the offensive line, you're not wrong.
Yeah.
You're not. I don't think you're panicking. I don't think you're being hyperbolic. I do think there are some issues that need to be addressed, and there are legitimate concerns about the offensive line. Me personally, I need one more game of sample size before I draw start to make a definitive conclusion. But the first two games have not been satisfactory performances.
Yeah, and I think, a lot of people, I think it's kind of split, with a lot of people on the text line or from what I've just seen on Twitter when it comes to maybe play calling. And I kind of want to revisit that one again because I don't think the play calling has been much, with a lot to be desired. I think the play calling is what I expected it to be when it comes to the first two games of the year, especially in a game against SC State, which, again, you should be able to run some of your more basic stuff with high success against an FCS opponent. There's a lot of details where it's just not clicking in an execution standpoint, and that is kind of the issue. You can maybe expect some of that early in the season. I think there's maybe too many execution lapses for you to feel good about what this offense can be going into a game against Vanderbilt, who is executing very well.
Yeah, you can't figure out where the issue is. It's with this until you get execution down, then we can take the next step to play calling and see what it is. But I'm not sure what we need to expect out of Mike Shula as an OC. We've had a 3-game sample size. In none of those 3 games, I don't think anybody was particularly wowed with the play calling prowess. But I'm not sure if him as a coordinator, if his number one calling card is that he's just going to get on the board and scheme you up. I don't know if that's his particular thing. His thing might be in being able to put together a game plan that is executable, plays to the strength of his players. I'm not sure if he's going to be the one to wow you with play design or multiple formations or things like that. That might not be what he does.
Right. And there's a difference between good play caller and creative play caller, right? A lot of creative play callers are really good, but you can be a really creative play caller, and if your offense still isn't operating at, 3.5 yards per play, then you're still not getting done what needs to be done. You just look good doing.
Yeah, and I think it depends on what your appetite for play calling is, because, for instance, when you said that phrase, a good play caller versus a creative play caller, I thought of Chad Morris, somebody who is he's a good play caller, he's a creative play caller, until him being creative play caller makes him a bad play caller, right? Because ultimately he'll get too creative and he'll do something stupid. I don't think Mike Shula falls into that category of guy where he's just going to maybe galaxy brain himself into doing bad calls. I think he's going to try and stay ahead of the chains, run a simplified type of offense. And listen, if you know my style of football, I like that. I'm here for it. But that can only happen when you run the ball consistently.
Yeah, and you do it effectively. And if you do it early on. One of the reasons why that deep ball worked well against Virginia Tech for that 64-yard Nick Harbor touchdown was because at least, you were running the ball well enough, right? I think you ran the ball better against Virginia Tech than you did against South Carolina State, which is something I didn't expect to be saying sitting here on September 8th, right? I did not expect to be saying that sentence. But you ran it well enough to where when you showed a certain look, you got a safety to cheat into the box so they could try to stop that run play. And then psych, play action, it's one-on-one with Nick Harbor on the outside. The rest is history. That's a setup play call, right? Some play callers are really good at going throughout the game, setting you up to think you're going to do something else, and then hitting you with something else over the top. Sometimes that requires a setup, And sometimes it may not be some of the most innovative or creative look, but it was something that was quarters long of football in the making. There are some offensive coordinators that do excel. If we're just talking about what different offensive coordinators look like and star in, there are some who might not be the flashiest that you see their clips on Twitter, but they do become effective in their subtlety because there are some finite details of the game that they can exploit as the game goes on.
As you're giving that soliloquy, you know who I'm thinking of? Mike Bobo.
Ah, interesting.
And if you go and ask Georgia's Bulldog fans about Mike Bobo, you probably have 60-40 like, that guy. But then you look at the numbers that they produce, and they're always successful, and he always has a successful offense. But it's never anything that makes you say, wow. You know, they're not doing anything that's especially innovative or flashy or glitzy as where, you know, it doesn't give you the tingles when you watch them play offense, but they just do it brutally effectively. And so I'm wondering if that is the route that we're going to see with a Mike Shula style offense.
Yeah, and what does that look like for South Carolina, I guess?
That's another great question.
In your mind, when you just, like, knowing the personnel, what there is on the field.
See, that's the big question because we thought we were going into the season with one thing, and we have not seen a couple of different things that we said we were going to see. Namely, we haven't seen the explosiveness from the wide receiver position. We saw a play in the first game. Vandrevius had a touchdown this past game, but as far as being able to have all of these guys that we could maybe throw the ball to, throw screens, throw shorts, and they yards after catch, we have not seen that. And so that's a big concern for me because what we thought we had coming into the season has yet to present itself.
So when I look at looking at the box score of the first two games, right? One thing you will notice is that in both games, Lenore Sellers has thrown the ball 19 times. Is there a world in your mind, Preston, where this team just operates better if you do end up treating short passes like you do runs? Kind of more in the mold of like Mike Leach's philosophy on balance. Mike Leach used to always say all the time, running the ball 50% of the time and passing 50% of the time is 50% stupid. He was not a fan of that. His offense, a lot of it was predicated on getting guys out in space, but using short screen passes essentially as their runs in running situations where most coaches would run the ball. He would throw more dink and dunk passes.
That makes a lot of sense with the personnel that we were told was coming into the season. It felt like the wide receiver guys would be more explosive, be able to make those plays as opposed to the running backs. And maybe getting them out in space on the edges can be something that helps. But clearly right now, you don't want to have to be designing your offense based on you having your weaknesses. You don't want to be hiding your weaknesses as opposed to playing to your strengths. And it feels like right now, because the offensive line isn't playing well, you're having to design things to hide weaknesses. And that's going to be difficult.
That can be very difficult. Speaking of the offensive line, Tim on the AAA Heating and Air phone lines wants to discuss the offensive line. Tim, good morning. Welcome to the early game.
I appreciate it, guys. I ain't talked to y'all in a long time, but look, well, let me tell you something about my balls. I've told y'all before, I'm a Gamecock and a ball fan. You know, my balls beat a lesser team the way you're supposed to. But that being said, we've been talking about the offensive line for years. You know what I mean? It's the same conversation all the time. I can't figure it out. I don't know what's going on. I'm an old man. I've played a lot of football and watched a lot of football. I can't figure this offensive line out. You know what the bad thing is? They can't either. I mean, it's the same conversation for 5 years, and I love Beamer. I do. I think he's the best thing to come along to Carolina since Steve Spurrier. But the offensive line, man, it's the same conversation all the time. And I mean, they should have beat South Carolina State the way Tennessee beat East Tennessee or wherever they played, East Tennessee State, whatever the heck it was. But they beat the crap out of us.
They did.
But that's what Carolina should have done to SC State, in my opinion, unless, I mean, everybody likes SC State. I do. I like their coach, everything. I mean, they might have let up on them because of that. I don't know. But the offensive line has been the conversation for 5 or 6 years, even before Beamer got there.
Yeah, thank you.
Same thing.
Appreciate your call, Tim. Yeah, that's going to be the crux of the analysis moving forward going into the Vanderbilt game. And Preston made a really good point on maybe they're missing something at the point of attack when it comes to run blocking. Because I think the bigger issue is run blocking, not as pass protection. Because I will say, I will give Kason Henry and Trovon Ball their flowers. When it comes to pass protection, those two on the right side of the offensive line have been really good.
Which is the most important, which is good. You need them to be important, but there's a whole nother half of the line that's not playing well.
Now, how much of that is fixable before we get to break, do you think?
Well, I don't know.
That's the tough thing is figuring out what can you correct, because it's not like you have a month to do it. You have a team in Vanderbilt that returns 3/4 of their roster in an era which that does not happen a lot. And not only they return a lot of that roster and have a lot of cohesion, they beat the hell out of an FCS team to start the season. Oh, and they went to Virginia Tech and had the second half of a lifetime in a true road game and looked really good doing it. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, it's time for Preston to give out some accolades. Thorns, Buds, and Roses is next.
It's Jen for CHW Cabinetry in Lexington. So thrilled with how everything turned out. It was a process, that's for sure. When everything got flooded in our kitchen, had to take it down to the studs and replace all the cabinetry and the flooring and everything like that. But they made it just such an easy process for us. Got the photorealistic rendering that we could take in to figure out what we needed as far as flooring and backsplash and countertops and all of that. And we had such a great experience that we decided when we were going to do some updating in some other bathrooms, there was only one choice, and that was CHW Cabinetry to get those additional cabinets into our house or into those other bathrooms. But they can you don't have to have a complete remodel to utilize their services. Again, just replace something in a bathroom, maybe update something in a closet or in your pantry, maybe a home office workspace. CHWCabinetry.com can tell you more. Call them today at 803-520-6837. Tell them Jen Jensen sent you. CHW Cabinetry, passion from inspiration to installation. I-26 eastbound between exit 97 and 106. A lot of stop-and-go traffic. Welcome to Monday morning. And also I-20 eastbound between Highway 378 and I-26. Also some stop-and-go traffic. White Pond Road southbound at Whiting Way in Elgin. We do have a report of an accident. And we also are reporting some kind of nice weather. 81 today, 80 tomorrow, breezy both days. Then we see more sunshine starting on Wednesday, 82 for the high, 86 for Thursday and Friday. Lots of sunshine ahead, 66 currently on 107.5 The Game.
From one all-time great hip-hop beat to another, 8:15 is here. Preston Thorne has some football thoughts. It's time to empty out that notebook and give out some accolades here for Thorns, Buds, and Roses.
It's time for Thorns, Buds, and Roses with Preston Thorne on the early game, 107.5 The Game.
All right, Elijah, we had a big-time weekend. NFL football was here. College football was here. We are fully immersed in the season. We had rainouts. We had lightning delays. Everything that you would expect from an early September game. That being said, what you don't expect is for another player to get penalized for spitting in the football games. What are we doing? One is bad. Two is worse. The first one, unexcusable. The second one, what are you doing, son? We just had a national conversation about this. Were you not around? Did anybody not tell you? Very clear. Is disgusting, right? Is the worst thing. The highest level of disrespect you can call somebody a name. You can talk about their parents. But if you decide to fix your mouth and spit on them, and rest in peace to my old man Albert Thorne. But if somebody spits on you, you have the right to make sure they don't spit on anyone else ever in life again.
And that usually involves throwing hands.
You have everything is on the table for whatever it needs to do. And if I was on the jury and that was your motivation, not guilty. You could walk.
Justified.
For whatever you did to him. You fine with me. Clear.
That's assault, brother.
Yeah, exactly. We are not doing that. So Thorns, let's stop that.
Please.
Let's not do that anymore.
God,
let's not do that anymore. Buds, the single season record for punt returns is 4. Makari has 3 in 2 games.
He's tied the record. 4 will break it. He tied the record in 6 quarters.
The record is tied. So we have a budding record-breaking season here. Now what's going to happen is people are going to start kicking away from him. They're going to start messing up on their punts. But we have an established weapon back there returning punts. So that is something that you want. It obviously enhances your special teams game. So shout out to Vakari for being that weapon because offense, what's up?
We going Vicari the Ferrari or video game Vicari?
I like them both.
They're both.
I like
both.
You know what? Vicari the Ferrari is a guy that catches the ball and he runs really fast. But when you make a play like the ones where he picked it up and he runs around a little bit from one side of the field, that was video game-esque.
That's like when you're playing, a younger sibling on like in Madden, and you just start running around side to side to mess with them, or you get near to the goal line, you start just running towards the end zone, then running back, and you really start laying.
That's exactly what it looked like. It looked like a video game. It looked like something where you would say, "Oh, the game's cheating." Come on, that would never happen in real life. It did. So Buds, Vakari, you're close. Roses, finally, I don't know the number. I don't know what the estimate it was, but roses for all you students in the student section. The cockpit was rocking. You saw the videos. You saw them staying through what can only be described as a monsoon-esque type one of those things where it was like Forrest Gump style, raining sideways, raining from underneath you, raining from on top of you. The rain was everywhere. It was hard. It was fast. But kids these days, they always talk about the kids these days. The kids these days were excellent, and they stayed in the stands, and they watched the game, and they cheered their team on. They were amazing. And good on you, kids, for actually having something in real life that you can hold on to. You didn't have to live this one through your phone.
Nope.
This is something you will remember for the rest of your life. You will remember that silly game against South Carolina State where you stayed and got drenched in a monsoon. And that will be the basis of, I think they call them core memories these days. Yep. That is something you will always remember from college. And good on you for taking advantage of being young and stupid and living that experience, because you'll remember it forever. Elijah, those are our thorns, buds, and roses for the weekend.
I love to, and this is it's one of those things, if you've seen it, right? It's gone around on Twitter or TikTok. A couple of the students that had a clear shot of the visiting team's tunnel where South Carolina State was standing for a little bit when it started really pouring. They looked over at them. Instead of like overly vicious heckling, they played rock, paper, scissors. It was funny. That was a funny video. That was good. And if you use that opportunity when it rained to take off your shirt, good for you.
Listen, man, you're young.
Guys being dudes.
Guys being dudes. This is what you want to do at these moments.
Absolutely. I mean, that's just the fun of it. That's college.
Yes.
You know,
when you're in college, you're supposed to be having fun.
Yep.
as they were. So awesome night for them. Unfortunately, everybody else had to wait and for the game to be played. But that was a really cool experience for them.
Yeah, seeing people live out core memories, always a lot of fun. Maybe like one of the highlights of the game. I know sitting in the press box, it was a fun people watching experience.
Yes, it was. You hear things sometimes too because the windows are open, so you do hear a few fun things as well. But yeah, fun to people watch. But for sure when you're talking about Vicari, we were definitely swooning over Swain.
Like it.
Ooh.
Like it.
Swoon, I like that too. See, Vicari Swain is a name where you can have some fun with nicknames.
So he and Lenoris, man, we're just gonna have all kinds of fun this season.
I got a text in the game from a buddy of mine who lives back home who was tuned in a little bit for the game just to check in. He goes, "Hey, have we been talking about the wrong Gamecock for Heisman?" I mean,
would that not be something though?
I mean, look, not many people have certain first team All-American spots wrapped up early in the season. Vicari Swain certainly, barring health and availability, seems to be on a very fast track to be that all-purpose or punt return first-team All-American.
I was thinking that I was going to put that as my buzz. I was like, could we possibly have a Heisman Trophy winner budding? I had that written here, but then I went and looked at Charles Woodson's stats from the year when he won it. Vicari got a long way to go.
Oh.
Charles Woodson had 8 interceptions, 44 tackles, 5 tackles for loss, 2 touchdowns on offense, 501 punt return yards.
Woo!
So, shout out to Charles Woodson, a legend. When I went to check the stats, I was like, all right, let me back down on that one a little bit.
But you're like, okay, well, maybe let's see a little bit more. But at what point? I mean,
only game 2.
Yeah, this is true.
Game 2.
Still early.
It's only game 2.
He's on pace.
I think he's already at this player holds the ball, or this player has the ball in his hands. Everybody holds their breath.
Like one of my favorite metrics.
Yes, they're like one of the favorite type of dudes on a football field.
Mm-hmm.
It'll take a lot to get to Devin Hester status, but how many touchdowns can we say he has to get to before we're like, okay, this is college football Devin Hester-esque?
One more. I think he's kind of there. The last guy that we had that was this electrifying in the punt return game was Debo, where it was like, well, it wasn't a punt, it was kickoff return, but it was like, hey, something can happen when he catches the ball. Anything can happen. They're punting to us. Let me not go to the bathroom, or let me not go get a concession.
Right. This is not a time to go on a beer run. No.
Right. Let me see what happens here.
On our Firehouse Subs text line, Jason's with another good Vicari nickname. Vicari, better than Atari. Sticking to the video game Vicari nickname. So, I mean, the offense has been a point of angst for the fan base, but Vicari Swain certainly giving us something to be incredibly excited about for the season. We'll continue getting your thoughts on South Carolina's 38-10 win over South Carolina State in the phone and text line. All of that coming up next here in the early game.
Preston here for our friends at Absolute Glass, the premier glass company of the Midlands, offering auto, home, and business glass repair. If your glass is damaged, shattered, cracked, or broken, they can handle the job. Cracked windshield, no problem. They'll come out to your location and they'll replace it for you, usually for free, and they'll walk directly with the insurance to take away the headache. That's right. They'll come out to wherever you are. School, home, work, it does not matter. Now, if you're at home looking to increase the value of your home, you can do that with new windows or mirrors, and Absolute Glass will take care of that for you too. Windows, mirrors, shower enclosures. Say it all the time. If you can see through it, Ray and Marianne at Absolute Glass can do it. So check them out online at AbsoluteGlassInc.com. That's online at AbsoluteGlassInc.com.
I-20 eastbound between Highway 378 and I-26. We have some stop-and-go traffic. Also, we have a similar situation, I-26 eastbound between Broad River Road and St. Andrews Road, so between exits 97 and 106. And forecast looking pretty good. Again, as we mentioned, a little bit cooler than last week. 81 today with breeze, kind of breezy conditions. Pretty much the same for tomorrow, 82 on Wednesday. But the sun comes back out, and we'll have that the rest of the week. Looking for 86 on Thursday and Friday. 65, kind of overcast, breezy right now on 107.5 The Game.
A lot of talk about the offensive line and the offense's struggles. The defense almost extended a streak of not giving up a touchdown, but they did not. Touchdown late in the game. Finally, somebody scores a touchdown, gets in the end zone on South Carolina. That cut the lead from 38-3 to 38-10. But I think the big story with the defense is a lot of the injuries and the injury situations, because right now it is not looking good. It already had some issues in the pass rush room with injuries. Brandon Cisse left the game early due to an injury. You're now down to Kelvin Hunter having to play nickel because Jaquel Holloman, who is the nickel corner behind Brandon Cisse, also got hurt. So Kelvin Hunter had to play some extended snaps. Jalen Kilgore missed the game,
which I think is important to note.
Very important to note.
He missed the game. He was not on any official injury reports. And so I think that's a question that needs to be asked as far as what happened with this particular player. Why wasn't he either A, on an official injury list, or B, was there an update provided about his playing status throughout the game? Because he's a preseason first team All-SEC dude.
And a preseason second team All-American.
So that's somebody who's extremely important to the defense, and I think we all should be made aware of what his status is.
And we don't know what it is on Judge Collier right now, too, but there's a chance you're playing Saturday without him.
Mm-hmm.
A sprained knee it can be difficult to recover from in a short amount of time. As good as the defense has played, we're now creeping into the part of how much are the injuries going to affect them, and at what point does it take you away from what you want to do on defense. I think we feel better about depth in the defense based off what we saw last year and how a lot of guys are going to be able to play this year, because you had Brian Thomas Jr. as a backup last year, and the guy was phenomenal on Saturday. He was really good against Virginia Tech, too. You've had a lot of guys step up and play really well. But ultimately, when certain position groups get banged up to the point of having to play guys who might not be ready, a la 2023 offensive line, it doesn't matter, how good you think your depth is, it's going to seriously get tested. I think against Vanderbilt, it's going to be seriously tested because the status of Brandon Cisse, Jalen Kilgore, Judge Collier, Jaquel Holloman, a lot of those guys on defense is questionable at this point.
Yeah, and when you have those injuries in the secondary, you start to think about things like misassignments, misalignments, blown coverages, etc., that come along with playing younger or less experienced athletes. So that's something that I definitely think we should keep an eye on as we move into playing Diego Pavia, who can do some unconventional things in the pocket.
An unconventional offense.
So there's a lot of question marks to be had going into this. I personally would just love to know, before we went into the game, what the actual status is of the guys, because there's no market advantage of not telling who's going to play. I think that's college football needs to do a lot better in that regard. You say you want to be pros, no, you don't, because in the pros you have to at least disclose what's happening. Now,
for every game.
You could play games like the Patriots used to do and put everybody as questionable, whatever. but at least that's something that the SEC was supposedly going towards last year, and it seems like it has not been a point of emphasis. Because remember last year, there was a big conversation about the official injury updates and providing that before games. Well, that doesn't seem like it's all high on the priority list this year.
But of course, the workaround is that's only for SEC matchups.
Ah, gotcha.
So you don't have to release an injury report in a non-conference game. However, you're going to have to this week. What does that look like? Look, like you said too, even in the NFL, there's workarounds. I think, but it's mostly accepted in the NFL now, where being upfront about it, I don't know if it's necessarily rewarded, but clearly teams feel like that's something that isn't harmful. I think we're going to find out, at least to the extent of how many names are on it, once we get into the Vanderbilt game, and you have to release one on Wednesday night, and then Thursday, and then Friday, and then Saturday morning. Then we'll really see, on a scale of 1 to MASH unit, what the defense is looking like injury-wise. But we went into this game, Preston, saying maybe one of the biggest objectives outside of just playing a clean ball game is to avoid injuries. And unfortunately, one of your best corners, Brandon Cisse, who is a dude, only was limited to 7 snaps in the game because of his injury. With everything you got in the secondary already, and that's supposed to be the strength of the defense coming into the season, it makes you feel a little more nervous about what's going to happen on Saturday.
Well, yeah, and again, when you think about this idea of the nerves coming in, for me, it's because the preseason narrative was that the defense was going to have to come along because they were replacing so many guys, and they were going to be the ones that were sort of working their way to get better and better, and that has not been the case. And so you want the side of the ball, the offense that was supposed to be the ones who were carrying the load early, to step up, and they have not done that yet. Again, I'm waiting for another game to draw any conclusions. You could jump on early, and if you was to jump out early and say, man, it's just team's not going to do it, they can't run the ball, you'd be well within your right. I just need one more game to make sure what I'm seeing matches with a bigger data set.
I think I'll need 2, and here's why. You haven't seen him play a true road game yet. And I think you learn about a team that way too, which is why, some people might think it's ridiculous that we're not automatically pressing the panic button. I will say this, and I made myself go through this thought exercise yesterday too. Without losing a game to an FCS team, how many teams in major college football that went on to do really good things do you remember what they did against the FCS opponent? Really low. It was a 0 for me. When I went back and thought about it, I went all the way back to games that I maybe have gone to as a kid, but that's because I was at the game, and it's a really big deal when you're like 6, 7 years old. You're at the football game. But not many times did I ever judge a season on what happened in the FCS game, right? There are things that are reasonable red flags with the team right now, things that have to be fixed. And if you listen to Shane on the early hours of Sunday morning after the game, his tone really reflects that. We're going to find out how bad the issues are on Saturday when you play Vanderbilt, because we see one thing now, which is, how about that for a sentence, right? How about that for a sentence that just came out of my mouth? Something I didn't think I would ever have to say. But we'll see exactly how major the issues are when you do get into SEC play, which is next week. So I think that's a fair way to look at it as well. We'll go ahead and take a quick break. When we come back, we'll go ahead and give you our winners from the game and our winners from today's show. That's next on the early game. Final segment of the show. So you know what time it is. The Gamecocks were winners on Saturday, 38-10. We'll give our winners for today's show.
Winners.
And Mike Singletary, we got him. Preston Thorne, your winners for today's show.
First off, let me give a winner because upon research, I didn't realize how great Charles Woodson actually was during his Heisman Trophy year.
Learned a little something.
Going to give a straight winner to 1997 Charles Woodson, 8 interceptions, 44 tackles, 5 TFLs, 238 receiving yards, 2 touchdowns on offense, 501 punt return yards. Yes, I did know, but also I was not aware. Charles Woodson, ultimate winner.
Charles Woodson, amazing season that year, but you know what? It will never talk me out of Peyton Manning getting robbed of the Heisman. I mean, it's still to this day, but not the most egregious Heisman snub. Jason White winning over Larry Fitzgerald still. I'll never getting over that. I never will. Absolutely not. My winner for today's show, Vicari Swain nicknames. So I thought in the press box, I came up with video game Vicari.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to say it was, I need to find the proper attribution for this.
Timestamped?
I did tweet it. As soon as I thought it, I tweeted it because I knew that if somebody else wanted to claim it, I need to be able to say that and be like, hey, look, nope, I tweeted it this time.
Mm-hmm.
It was the Carolina Faithful tweeted at me and said, Vicari the Ferrari.
Okay.
And I like that. That one, I'm like, oh, that's good. You cooked. And a couple people on the Firehouse Subs text line have chimed in with Crown Vic Kari.
Crown Vic Kari. Mm-hmm.
Yes. That I know it was, I guess, Thomas in Somerville.
Shout out to the Ville.
The Ville chiming in on that one. Jason said Vicari better than Atari, which I liked a lot. A nameless texter, was another one that said Crown Vic. Mm-hmm. So we have a lot of really good Vicari Swain nicknames that we can use for the rest of the year because the man has 3 punt return touchdowns and has already tied a single season program record in 6 quarters.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we don't have many more winners to give out on the offensive side of the ball because they did not play.
No,
they did not play very well. But I will give a winners to the starting defense.
Yes.
For once again holding another opponent out of the end zone, which is an accomplishment. I think there's a streak sort of being set. We'd like to see that move forward. We'd like to see you progress with that. When the offense is not playing well, the defense can step up, and the starting defense did, holding another opponent out of the end zone. So that's 2 games in a row.
Another winner that I have from the weekend, the Mississippi State Bulldogs, pulling off the upset against Arizona State at home, doing it in dramatic fashion, a long touchdown pass with, I believe, 38 seconds to go. I believe that was the amount of time left on the clock. And specifically, Brendan Thompson, who caught the game-winning touchdown, earlier in the game, had a touchdown on a pass where he almost Willie Mays caught it, where he's running into the end zone. There's a bomb that's being thrown by Blake Shapen. He's looking up, and all of a sudden the ball just kind of falls in his hands. That was impressive on its own. But in the last drive of the game, he drops a pass where he had nothing but green grass ahead of him, and in a first down, he probably could have put up like another 15 yards after that catch too. Would have put them pretty well into Arizona State territory with a little over a minute left. Plenty of time to be able to get in a position to attempt a field goal that could tie it at the worst. That left his head, ran a great route. Blake Shapen threw him a dime, caught it in stride, scores the game-winning touchdown. They pull off that upset. Mississippi State was 2-10 last year. They were atrocious. Mm-hmm. They lost at home to Toledo last year in a game that was not particularly close. They lost a lot of their best players on offense in the transfer portal. But they had some players like Brendan Thompson who stuck around and decided we don't want to go out. We don't want to leave Starkville like that. I thought that was maybe one of the best gut check wins that you'll see over the weekend. Mississippi State became one of the highlights. That was an incredible football game.
Want to give a quick winner to, and I hope I pronounce this correctly, Alex Golish.
Alex Golish, yes.
Sir, you could have just looked at Boring Billy, and said, I'm the captain now. Because look at me. Give me your shirt. Give me your staff. I am now the University of Florida coach, because I believe that might be loading.
I think it might be.
Let's just did he possibly just win his next job by beating Billy Napier in the swamp? Very possible.
To take it to another movie quote, he might end up walking in there and going full Shrek and saying, this is my swamp. I mean, South Florida has a win, a 34-7 dominant win at home against a team that was the top 25 in Boise State. Then they go to Florida and win 18-16. Oh, and you want some more South Florida drama? They go at Miami next week.
Big one.
I think they've already solidified themselves as the favorite to be the G6 college football playoff representative. That's all for today's show. 6 a.m. tomorrow. We'll talk to you then. Tyler Head and the Extra Points next. When it comes to the roofing and waterproofing industry, Midstate Roofing, also a winner. And it's not just since we've been doing the show that they've been a winner. They've been winners for 30-plus years in that industry, and that history is your assurance that their professionals provide that proper advice, service, and most importantly, results. Football is not just a game of results. Roofing and waterproofing, also a game of results, because if you have a leak, it's an issue, right? It messes up everything that goes on in your home or your business. So if you do have that leak, let Midstate Roofing take a peek. 803-356-1919. If one of your needs or something happens and it's an urgent emergency and it's after hours, they are still available because they have on-call technicians that will be able to help you. Again, 803-356-1919 and always online at midstateroofing.com. If you have a leak, let Midstate Roofing take a peek.